My name is P.T. Brent, George's friend from Hawaii. This seems to be my year for visiting cemeteries. This morning I was at the Carolina Veterans Cemetery looking at the graves of some Civil War veterans. Still a better flag flying there. And last year I was at Arlington Cemetery where I was searching for the grave for about 2 hours in Pvt Mansfield. And when we hosted Evie and George in Hawaii a couple years ago, I took George up to the Punchbowl, introduced him to the grave of one of my heroes, a journalist named Ernie Pyle. You know, the one thing that intrigues me when you go to these cemeteries is that the tombstone tells quite a story. Like in the case of George M.Barrows, I would say 1928, and a hyphen or a dash to 2017, 87 years. What that dash is 87 years. Think about it. Imagine, 87 years. George was raised during the Depression. George weathered World War II, Korea, Vietnam. He was the voice, the official voice of the Marine Barracks, the nation's capital. Then he went on to a whole series of other successes. The one thing that people tell me all the time about George is that George was the epitome of a gentleman. He had impeccable manners. Women like George. In fact, women love George. George was also, as we mentioned, the mayor mentioned, a mentor.
Oh, yeah.
He mentored Jeff after he mentored Julia, Roger, their children, and countless other people. He was, George is up there now with Special Commandant, 13th Commandant of the Marine Corps. I met George indirectly, obliquely, through the Commandant of the Marine Corps, number 13. When George called me and we kind of really bonded. George is up there with that general from Louisiana. He's very proud of him, just like each and every one of us is. And as Mayor mentioned, George has a certain special quality when he meets people. The French might have called it je ne sais quoi. But George left us something that was, good, clean, and right about America, the Marine Corps, and family. On my plane ride here, I had a reflection about my first time I ever went to a funeral parlor where they had someone on what they call viewing. I was 10 years old and my grandfather was supposed to die. My grandmother, Laura Todd, took me to a funeral parlor in Chicago. And just like last night, I touched my grandfather's hand. It was very cold, and it left me shook. And that night, my grandmother took me to her small apartment in Chicago, and she said, Patrick, look up at the stars. And she said, each one of those stars is a hole in the sky for somebody we lost, somebody we love is up there looking over us and looking out for us. And she said, Patrick, don't you ever. So Patrick, one of those stars is your grandfather, and don't you ever disappoint him or let him down. So Evie, up in the Carolina skies, there's a star, and it's George, and he's looking down at you, looking out for you. Like, I want you all to look at me, look in my eye. We don't want to ever, never let George down. There went George, Semper Fi, Staff Sergeant Barrows.
Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you here on behalf of Evie and the Barrows family. They're beautiful. George's beautiful family. I'd like to welcome you. Thank you for your heartfelt prayers, thoughts, many of our lives. Inside your bulletin, if you would look, there's a blank card. And the blank card is to write your memory of what you think of, that special memory where George touched your life. He totally touched mine and changed it after a bad car accident. And I know he had that effect. Everywhere we went, everybody knew it. It didn't matter what part of the state we drove. And so you write that special memory, and there's a basket at the back if you could leave that there. There's so much in his life that has touched us. And I just want to go with one short one. George and I, like I said, I've been accepted by his family as part of the family. It's an honor that I can't explain. But I went to the Pvt nursing home, and he was there, and I said, George, I love you. I love you so much. And he had his note, oxygen in, and that big smile. And I asked him, I said, well, I just want to know that I'm going to see you in heaven with our Lord Jesus Christ. And I said, I want to know if you're ready. He grabbed my hand and shook it, shaking his head up and down with that big smile. And I placed a wooden cross that I had been given when I finished my Bible school. And he held on to that cross. I'm told today. But he was ready. And now he's went through that door, and he's no longer in pain, having any time breathing, hard time breathing. He's now smiling because he's touched all of us. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to the Uncle Mayor, Sammy Phillips.
I'm very sad. I lost a good friend here. Mr. George there, he did a lot of good things for me with the mayor's office. He helped me with you folks, you veterans out here. You were his pride. I also want to thank the family. I'm very honored to be able to come here and speak of George today. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to put the words together to honor such an individual. I'm going to miss him. I really am. Even after he no longer was with veterans liaison, he still made his presence known to City Hall. And to be quite frank with you, I don't know who's going to step forward and correct me. I was Southern country boy, Camp Lejeune pronouncing, who's going to speak to correct me. But I know, George, I'm sorry, it is Lejeune. Thank you for straightening me out. On behalf of the grateful city of Jacksonville, the city council and our community, I bring condolences to the family of George Barrows Sr. Rest assured that his was a life that will not be forgotten. That his impact, while unmeasured, is large and vast, and that will be remembered fondly in our community. I don't know all the accomplishments of George Barrows. I don't know a whole lot about his Marine Corps service.
I'm getting too quiet.
I don't know of all the people who call him friend. And I do not know of how his actions will impact our community for years to come. But what I do know is that George Barrows was a passionate man in friendship with others, in love of his country, in love of his Jacksonville, and of course, in love of his Marine Corps, his veterans, and his family. his pride of the great fraternity that is the United States Marine Corps was demonstrated in his appearance. In my mind, I always treasure that image I have of George, dressed impeccably in his Marine Corps League blood red coat. He would always have that perfectly placed collar and that crisp white shirt that glowed far less than George did in his pride of his Marine Corps. George also had pride in his community of Jacksonville. After all, he could have lived most anywhere he wanted to after he retired. But he chose Jacksonville, and we are a much better community for him having made that decision. His wise counsel served many well, including those whom he advised on veterans and military matters. And I do treasure his service to my office, the mayor's office, as the official veteran liaison. And I treasure his advice, and he gave me plenty, in connection to those whom he was proud to have served with and to tell others about. There are many retired Marines who have accomplished great things while they were in the service and after they retired. Some became titans of business afterwards. Others continued to serve their nation in elected office. But none could compare to the zest and the zeal in which George served his Marine Corps, his fellow veterans, and his community. None could compare to this champion of the Marine Corps, champion of veterans, and champion of the city. I remember George as a man who always seemed to be in motion, continuously in service to others. You see much testimony about George in social media, the paper, the newspaper, and a lot of people have come to me about George's willingness to help others. His obituary lists awards and honors, as well as some of the certificates and plaques that honor him for his service to veterans and others. What they don't list are the individual counsel he may have given many that may have had impact, that his life was impactful on others so much, and how he loved the Corps. George lived a life that was larger than the lives of many. It was a life that built on the Marine Corps values of honor, courage, and commitment. The Planned Museum of Marine Corps pledged to have granite engraved to remember the pillars of the impact of the Marine Corps here, community, Corps, in the Carolinas. George should be easily remembered by those who knew him as portraying these values of honor, courage, and commitment. Thank you, George Barrows, for your service. And sir, may you rest in peace.